This is Camping with Wade's RV on 102.3 KRMG, Tulsa's News and Talk. Your RV guide for Oklahoma and beyond. Give us a call at 918-460-KRMG. Now, let's hit the road.
Good afternoon and welcome to Camping with Wade's RV. This is 102.3 KRMG, Tulsa's News and Talk, as we continue an Ask the Experts weekend. Joined as always by Willy D from Wade's RV. Willy D, how you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing great. So just like last weekend, I'm actually on the road again. I'm up in Oklahoma City, and I'm working the Sportchassis booth at the incredible AQHA World Show. And if you have not experienced this show and you like equine, you've got to come up here to the city and check it out. It's really cool. There's people from all over the world, and this show goes from, I believe it started on the 2nd, and it's going to go until around the 22nd. And so there's all different types of showing. This last week, they were doing a lot of reining, but they do a little bit of everything. So this is the American Quarter Horse Association. And so with that, there's, cattle cutting, there's reining. It's kind of all the different segments out of a lot of these horse shows all gathered into one place. So it's a really great event. There's been tons of people. And like I said, I've met people from all over the world. I'm here with Sportchassis. So that being made in Clinton, Oklahoma, it's much a kind of USA thing. And so whenever they come over here and they see these trucks, I get lots of questions of, one, how much are they? And number two, how do I get one? And so it's been really exciting, and I'm meeting just tons of people, and I'll be up here for a little bit longer. This morning, I was actually on the road doing a little bit of a delivery. Well, I'm bringing one back to Wade's RV. And so I've been on the road doing that, and then we got to make sure that we get back because we're actually having a really cool event also in the kind of Western world, as we're sponsoring a bull riding in Mounds, Oklahoma. So that's going to be at the Crossbar Arena, and that starts at 7 p.m. So there's going to be, it's just bull riding. So if you like rodeo action, you like a little bit of the crashes, you like some of that drama, you like to see those big, mean, rank bulls, this is going to be the place to be. And so I'm going to go from Oklahoma City with a Sportchassis. We're going to come to Wade's RV, drop that unit off, and then I'm going to hit the road again and head out to Mounds for that great event. So you got to come see us, whether you're in the Tulsa area, you're in the Oklahoma City area. Wade's RV will be around you at some point in time. So come on out and see us. And of course, come on out to Wade's RV. We're going to be open until 5 p.m. And today we're doing something really special. So we're actually serving lunch to our veterans. And that's just a small way that Wade's RV can give back to those that have given so much to us. And so we're serving lunch, and we actually have already started. So that started at noon, and we're going to go till about 2 p.m. with that. So if you're a veteran and if you haven't gotten lunch yet, come on by, and we're going to make sure that we get you taken care of. We're going to feed you, make sure that you're all full. And if you're looking for an RV and you're a veteran, we have a special discount for you as well. You can take advantage of $500 off the purchase of any camper, or you can choose a free hitch. So if you're needing a free hitch, that's a great way for you to go ahead and get one. So we have that going on. We also, there's lots of exciting things at Wade's RV. There's always lots of cool things going on. But we also, since it's gotten colder, people are coming in and they're getting winterized. So we're doing a winterization special. So if you need to get your unit winterized, for the most part, you can get it taken care of for under $100. And if you're needing to get your camper that has like a residential fridge, or it has a couple different special things, it might be just a tick more. I think it's usually around 120 at that point in time. But you can save money, save time, and just bring it on by to us here at Wade's RV, and we'll make sure that you get taken care of. And a lot of times they do that while you wait. So lots of cool things happening with that. Like I said, if you're a veteran, make sure you go by Wade's RV. We're going to serve you lunch. It's a small way that we can serve you for serving us. And I'm just really excited about everything that we have going on this weekend. It's almost so I get really excited. I don't have very much of a weekend. I usually have Sundays off, and I get a few things done around the house, but I really look forward to the weekend during the middle of the week. I talk about it because I get to hit the road. I get to go to a lot of these shows, and I get out and meet all of you guys that are listening to this great and wonderful program. So thank you for listening, and thank you for coming out and seeing me whenever I'm out on the road, and I look forward to meeting more of you today.
And it is Camping with Wade's RV. If you want to talk a little RVs with us, you can join us. Send us a text message. 70123 is the number. Make sure you start that text with KRMG and then send us a text that way, and we'd be happy to answer. Willy D's got all those answers for you. But where can they find you if they want to come down in person? Maybe they are a veteran. They want to come grab some food here in the next couple hours. Where do they find you?
So if you want to find us, we have 2 different locations, but the most important location right now is where we're going to be serving that nice hot food. We got some grills going out there. Matt Goulet, if you've been around Wade, you know he's our resident cook, and let me tell you, he cooks better than my mama does, and that's saying something right there. So come on by. Yeah, it is a very bold statement. I have been working with Matt for years, and it was heartbreaking to my mother whenever she heard, oh, okay, I've been beat. So Matt is definitely, he has quite the standard. So come on out and try some of this cooking because it is incredible. He's out there. He's been working on that grill all morning, and we're located at 161st and Highway 75, just right about 5 minutes south of Tulsa Hills. And it's really easy to find. We're right off the highway. We have a whole bunch of American flags. So this store is very, very patriotic. And we have a whole bunch of American flags going all the way down that front fence line and all the way around into the entrance. So it won't be hard to find us. You'll see a whole lot of red, white, and blue as you're going down the road today. And we're just really excited about everything that's going on and just meeting everyone. So if you're a veteran, we want to meet you and thank you personally. That's one reason why we're doing this, is so it's not just, we're having a catering service come out. We actually want to be servants. We want to kind of be just like in the Bible, Jesus washing the disciples' feet, you might say. So we want to take care of those folks who have taken care of us. And so come on out and see us. We're going to be out there, like I said, until 5 p.m. this evening. We're going to be cooking until around 2. So you want to make sure you hurry up and get on out there to Wade's RV. And you can always give us a call at 918-291-1011 if you're wanting to come out and look at an RV. Wade's RV is still doing social distancing measures. So we have masks here at the store. If you need one, we have some as well. If you want to see an RV, but you don't necessarily want to have some physical contact, we can set that up as well. One thing that's great about Wade's RV is we really focus on our customers' experience. And so that comes into play whenever we have our units that are plugged in. I used to say cooled off, but now it's going to be warmed up. And so we have those warmed up on the front demo pad, and then all the way across Highway 75, Wade is always improving the store. One thing that you will find is he's not necessarily taking the profits from the store and putting them in his pocket. He's putting it back into this facility so you as a customer can just have a better experience overall, whether that's having state-of-the-art tools, a state-of-the-art shopping experience. This week, we just got all the power poles put in on the front line. And so if you're looking at a fifth wheel or a motorhome, that's where we usually keep all of that stuff. And so we got power poles out there where these units are plugged in so you can see them at their full capacity. If you want to run out the awning, we can do that. You want to see how auto leveling works? We can show you on the spot. And on these colder days, you can also have them warmed up. So lots of different advantages of coming to Wade's RV. Just save yourself all the hassle. Don't go anywhere else and come on and see us. We have over 24 of the very best brands in the industry. And these aren't brands that you can just go out and buy. You actually have to be qualified, you have to be certified, and you have to be inspected to carry these. So these are brands that you know are going to take care of you down the road, because if they don't, that's my name behind it. That's Wade Reeves' name behind it. And that's Wade's RV's name behind it. So we want to make sure that you're taken care of from the moment you walk in to the moment you either retire out of RVing or you upgrade into the new one. So we want to just help you all along the steps. And we want to teach you about RVs. We have lots of different classes. Whenever you buy one here, we actually give you a full demo. So if you know nothing whatsoever about RVs, do not be scared. Come on down and we'll get you all educated on them.
A couple minutes ago, you mentioned your winterization special, which is a thing that people are thinking about right now. It's not all really been that cold, so it's not too bad, but we'll get there soon enough. And let's talk about winterization. I have a question on that. Is it something that you do like a boat where you're going to put your RV away, or is it something where you're going to go use it in the winter and you have to set it up differently?
Well, you can do a couple different things. So whenever we're talking about winterization, what that really means is that we're really just trying to eliminate all the water that might cause any cracking in your plumbing lines or in your water fixtures. And so what they do is they drain all of the water out of all of your tanks. They also make sure that you don't have any water in your water lines. One way that they can do that is they actually have an attachment that they put on the water lines, and it actually shoots air through there. And so it makes sure that it's completely dried out. And then at that point, they actually have antifreeze, which they can pump through your water line. So if there's any little bit of droplet that's in those P-traps, it's going to make sure that it has some of that antifreeze in there so you don't have any of those problems. And that's just a really, really cool thing. So getting it winterized, you can make sure that you're protected and you make sure that you watch a lot of your appliances and things. But that doesn't mean you can't use your camper. Like what you're talking about, does that mean you have to put it up for the year? Absolutely not. Many times, if not almost every time, I use my camper as if it's winterized, because what I'm doing is I'm taking out used units that we have here on the lot on the weekends whenever I go out camping or I go out on a trip for a couple days or I go out and film. And whenever that happens, whenever I come it back, guess what? I don't get to bring it back where it's got the tanks full where it's all dirty. That's not the case at all. I'm expected very much, just like in my normal life, if I borrow something, I bring it back better than the way it was. Very much so with our RVs here that we have at the store. And so I don't necessarily want to go through and clean all the tanks out, make sure it's re-winterized, all of that stuff. So many times whenever I go to the parks, and with all the new improvements we've had in the parks, it's been really, really awesome. And this kind of goes in hand in hand. They've been building new bathrooms and things. And so the facilities at these parks are really great. Back in the day, they weren't as good as what they are. And so there's been many improvements throughout the years. But if you do have your camper winterized, you can still use your heater. You can still use your bed. You can still use your lights. You still have your camper on wheels. And it's definitely a whole lot warmer than a tent. You have propane, which you can get filled up all year round, and that has no effect on your winterization. You can get the propane. You can keep your furnace going so you can be outside and enjoying this great weather. Because one thing that I found is if you're camping, you're outdoors, there's no face mask required. And just about everywhere you go today, there is a face mask required for all the COVID stuff. So you can really get away from that and kind of forget about this new world that we might be living in. And you can really just go out there and experience this outdoor lifestyle, get a fresh breath of air, and just really soak it in and get some of that vitamin D. Get outside. So many people have just been sitting inside, sitting on their couch, sitting on their computer. Get outside, get some fresh air. There's a reason your parents didn't let you just sit around inside all day. It's not good for you. So get outside and really enjoy it. And one thing that you're going to find is that you will enjoy it. It's been really cool throughout this whole 2020 to see how many of my friends that have never been out to the state parks, they've never been hiking, they've never been exploring into all of the great things that the state parks and the natural parks have to offer, is that once they started going, they haven't stopped. They've gone to more extreme places, cooler places, I might say. They like to tip their feet in the water and try, some of these local spots, but then you'll see in a couple of weeks, they just kind of start traveling out, distancing out more and more and more. And so it's been really special, and it's really cool to share these experiences and all of the RV in life that I've loved for so many years, and so many of us here at the store have loved for years. That's one thing you'll find, is that everyone at the store, we all are campers. And so we know about the lifestyle, and we know how to help you. And so you can absolutely use that camper when it gets cold, but you want to make sure that your water lines are protected. So if you're not going to keep it warm in there, when we do have these sudden changes, when it does get down to 32 degrees for a couple hours, you will want to make sure that you get it winterized. So come on out and see us for that winterization special. Like I said, it starts at $98.50 per month. So save yourself the time, the hassle, or the worry that you might not do it correctly, and just come on out and see the pros here at Wade's RV.
It's Camping with Wade's RV right here on KRMG. We'll take a break, and we'll get to more of Willy D's delivery diaries after the break, and a little bit more of what they've got going on when we return on KRMG. Welcome back. It's Camping with Wade's RV. You're listening to 102.3 KRMG, Tulsa's News and Talk. Skyler Cooper and Willy D. If you want to check out Wade's RV today, in the next couple of hours, for you veterans, they are continuing to extend free lunch until about 2 o'clock or so. So if you want to go get a free meal, check that out. 161st on Highway 75. And Willy D, if while they're there, they want to buy an RV, you'll hook them up for that too.
Absolutely. So we want to get back, whether you're in the RV market or not, it doesn't matter. We just want to get back to our veterans that have given so much for us. It's not just a time sacrifice. They're away from their family, many times taking breaks from their actual career that they're pursuing. There's so many different things that they have done to make sure that we can enjoy the freedoms that our forefathers have fought and died for today. And so we want to give back in even just a small way if we can. And this is a great way that we can say thank you. And so come on by. We're serving free lunch. And if you are in the market for an RV, we have a special deal for you as well. We are in the RV industry, so that's something that we can definitely help out with. We're offering $500 off the purchase of any new RV, any new or used RV. Sorry, I misspoke there. It does not matter if it's new or used. Any RV, though, that's on the lot, you can take advantage of $500 off. Or if you have a preference and you want a free hitch, you can get that as well, which I love having a hitch. So fifth wheel hitches, obviously, you need that to connect and things. But whenever you're talking about just a little pull behind trailer, what those do is it really helps with the weight distribution and sway control. And going down the road, whenever you have a trailer behind you, you might have a big semi truck come on by and it might move and shake you a little bit. That sway control really helps take that out of the equation because it really just puts a little friction on there. And it's a really great system to help keep you safe and then also just make it a smoother journey whenever you're going down to your camping destination. So take advantage of $500 off or a free hitch. That's a great deal that we have going on. And like I was talking about before the break, if you do need to get your camper winterized, come on by Wade's RV. That starts at only $98.50. So come on by and see us today for any of those needs. We want to get you taken care of. And like I said, we want to get back to our veterans.
Yeah, it's something near and dear to you guys. You actually have a lot of staff members who are veterans, right?
There is a lot of staff members here that are veterans, and a lot of our family members are as well. My family has fought and in the military and served in the military all the way back to the Revolutionary War. And so I could just start listing names on that. Wade personally, his dad was in the service, and then also his son Tyson was in the service as well. So he's always giving back, not just on Veterans Day, but also we always do a promotion for the Blue Star Mothers collecting supplies, and we give them a percentile of everything that we sell during that period. He likes giving back to the community. So it's a really, really cool thing. And one thing that I thought was really neat was we had a little bit of a time on Veterans Day where a couple of our staff members, they have members that were in the military and served in the military, and they called a couple of them and saw if they wanted to get together just for coffee and donuts and just kind of chat and share some stories and just visit and have a time of fellowship with one another. And so Wade got together with these guys and we had some donuts and coffee. I'm a little bit of a donut fan, so for me that was really great. But everyone sat down at a table and just kind of chatted and talked about their military service. It was really cool. We had Johnny Sloan, which Randy, he's our GM. He's been on the program, and if you've been around Wade's RV, you'll always see his smiling face. He's always running around, and that was his dad. And so it's really cool because I've grown up around the Sloans for many, many years. Brennan and Landon, that's his two boys. They're some of my very good friends, and this is their grandpa. So sitting around that table and hearing some of those stories, I work with Randy. I have been friends with the boys. It was kind of cool to see all, the family tree, you might say. I've worked from the branches and I was kind of going into the core of the roots. And so it was really cool to visit with Johnny. He was in the Marine Corps. And then Robert Wallace, he goes by Bob. This is actually Jason. He's our sales manager here. This was his grandfather, and he served in the Navy, and he had a ton of cool stories. One story that really stuck out to me was he was talking about how he got put on a experimental aircraft design and testing kind of mission. And so they moved him to a blimp hangar, which I would love to see in general. That's got to be huge. And they were actually testing how to, they were making an aircraft that would actually take off vertically. I mean, just straight up in the air. And so it was really cool. And he had pictures of that, and just the things that these men got to take part of was really, really neat. And then we had Mark Bove come on as well. And I've spent a lot of time over at Mark's house. Like I said, I've been hanging around the Sloans for a while, and this is Brennan, Randy's son. This is his father-in-law. And so he came here and he served in the Air Force. And he himself, he gives back to the military community all the time. He gets really, really involved. And it's really cool just to share and visit stories with him about his service. And it was cool because there's multi-generations that were sitting at this table to talk about the different things that they experienced during their time of service, whether that be heating up meals. One thing Johnny was talking about was he used to get these, he would call them John Wayne crackers, and then he would get beans and weenies. And so that would come in a can with beans and weenies in there, basically. And as soon as he'd get that can, he'd run over to the military vehicle he was around, and he would strap that on to the exhaust pipe, and that's how they heated up their meal. They would have to come up with very creative ways to get these meals that were served to them on the actual battlefield warm. And Mark was sharing that his son, which is also named Mark, he's a good friend of mine, how nowadays they actually drop these meal packets inside a bag of water, and it causes a chemical reaction which heats it up. And so just sharing those stories and seeing those differences, it was incredible.
Sounds like it would be. And we'll share more when we come back. We're going to check the news and the forecast. This is Camping with Wade's RV on KRMG. Welcome back. It's Camping with Wade's RV. You're listening to 102.3 KRMG, Tulsa's News and Talk. It is an Ask the Experts weekend. I'm Skyler Cooper. You'll find us here every Saturday from noon until 1, and you can get a hold of the show if you want to join us, 918-460-KRMG. Willy D loves to answer your camping and RV questions. You can also text us. Might be easier for you. 70123 is the number. Start with KRMG and then your question. That number again, 70123. Willy D, you guys are really busy kind of every month, but you're really busy in November. One of those things, I guess we'll be seeing you out at La Fortune Park here in a couple of days on Tuesday when we start Make-A-Wish Stories of Light. It's the 15th annual, and you guys are going to bring some RVs out this year.
Yeah, so Wade's RV is always out in the community, and no one knows that better than myself because I'm usually the boots on the ground. So today we are in Oklahoma City. We're also in Glenpool, as always, and then we're also going to be in Mounds this evening. So it's a really busy weekend for Wade's RV, but it's a really cool weekend because we're going to be out and we're doing a lot of really cool stuff like we've been talking about. If you're a veteran and you have not had lunch, you got to head out to Wade's RV, 161st and Highway 75. We are going to be out there giving back to you as well, but we're also going to be giving back a little bit of a way for you guys' campaign for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. So we're going to have an RV out there. You guys are going to be using as an office, KRMG and Fox 23. And then we're also going to have the Wade's fishing trailer, as we call it. It's got Wade's RV on it. You won't be needing to use the air conditioner, but it has LEDs. It's got an AC system in there. It's a really, really cool, decked out. I mean, it's neat. I wish I had it with me all the time, but we're going to be sending that out there with you guys to help with that because that's another great thing that we like to get behind. Anything that we can do to give back, that's what it's all about at the end of the day, is giving back to the people that have given to you, whether that be your veterans or that be your customers. And so we just want to be able to get out there and help as much as we can. So if you're out there in the community and you see a Wade's RV flag or a Wade's RV truck, just come on by and say hello. We'd love to meet you.
That'd be great. We appreciate the help, and that's something that's near and dear to us here at KRMG, and to myself especially, because I do most of the interviews that you'll hear with those kids and the stories that we edit down and play for you on the radio. That's one of my jobs, and it's heartwarming, and it's really inspiring to meet these families and get to talk to them. And we did it a little differently this year, as everything is. So, but we think it's going to sound great, and we appreciate that. So donations will be appreciated. More on that starting on Tuesday here on KRMG. But we're talking camping for today with Wade's RV and Willy D. And one of the things that we usually get into is you just talked about all the things you guys are doing in the community, but you also get yourself around the state quite a bit just delivering RVs. And you got another one of those happening this weekend.
I do, yeah. So I was driving somewhere. It was up towards Stroud this week. I went and dropped off an RV to a customer. His name was Sam. It was a little bit of a late night run. But one thing that I always brag about is that ever since day one that I've worked here at Wade's RV, and there was a time, I call it my former life before I really woke up, but there was a time when I didn't work at Wade's RV. I worked somewhere else in the RV industry. But since day one where I worked here, I have never seen an RV not go out the door to that customer if it was, promised to be done, right then and there. And so this customer, he bought a unit and he really needed it that day based on some housing situation that he was having. And so Wade said, I promise you, I will get this out to you today. And so we close at 5 p.m. here at Wade's RV, but that's not when we stop working. And so we had all the techs back there. I was working on it. Wade was working on it. And we made sure that everything, because one thing that we do, sorry, I should have said this, is we check the units before they go out the door. So whenever we deliver them or you come and pick it up, you're not going to have a surprise where you have a busted water tank or the AC doesn't work. That's kind of part of our process with most of these units. And so we were going through making sure everything was firing on all cylinders. And it was about 7 o'clock before I hitched up and I pulled out of here at Wade's RV. But I got hitched up, pulled off, and it took me about an hour to get out there. And it was dark. We had flashlights out, but sure enough, I got that thing back in that space. And Mr. Sam had a nice warm place to stay that night. We got the unit all slid out, all leveled out. I mean, there wasn't another thing that you could do out there. And so we made sure that he was taken care of. And so I went out there the first part of the week. And then today, I've been one of my great customers, Trent England. He's a good buddy. A lot of times we have customers and they start out as customers and then you become friends. And so Trent was texting me and he said, hey man, I got my feeder on the back of my truck right now. So my river stone can't fit on the back of it. And so I just need a hand if you're going to be around. He knows I get around this. He saw that I was up in the city last week. I told him I was going to be back up there this weekend. He said, if you can just help me out, bud, and come on by and pick this up. I need to get a few things done. He needs to get it winterized. We've been waiting on a few blinds to get in for his up in his bedroom. So we're going to get those installed. But he really just needed a favor. And so Willy D, I've been known to help a buddy out every once in a while. And so on my way up to the city this morning, I swung by his house and I went and picked up his Riverstone. And so it takes, it was about 2 hours and 40 minutes. It was close to 3 hours, but I went and picked that up, and that way he can get all of this taken care of. And he's got a really cool ranch out there. I always love visiting, like I said, but I brought a sport chassis because I'm going to the Sport Chassis show. I hooked it up. And one reason I chose to bring a sport chassis, not just because I love them and they're the best truck out there, in my opinion, but it's because it had a gooseneck ball in the back. And if you don't know what a gooseneck ball is, there's two types of ways you can pull a fifth wheel. You can hook it up like a normal semi-trailer, I would say, where you have your plate in the back and it just slides in there and locks in. Or you can have it hook up where it's more like a travel trailer, where you have a coupler that goes over the top of a ball and locks into place. And so with a gooseneck, that's what it is it has a big tube coming down from the neck of that trailer. Many times whenever you see horse trailers or cattle trailers, you'll see that big kind of neck looking kind of coming off of there. And so we call that a gooseneck because gooses have big, long necks. And so he has a gooseneck, so I pulled in, hooked onto that, and we got it pulled out. Also, this is a kind of a heavier unit. This thing unloaded, it weighs about 14 to 15,000 pounds. And so with the sport chassis, being able to tow 30,000 pounds and me putting so many miles on it today and driving up and down the highways of Oklahoma, this is just a perfect combination. And so I brought the sport chassis up there, and I have brought a sport chassis up there before Trent had the Riverstone. He actually had a really cool Voltage, which had a gooseneck on there as well. And that was the first time I got to meet him. And I brought a sport chassis up there as well for the reason I knew he had a pretty cool ranch, and I knew he had some cool trucks and stuff, but I knew he didn't have the coolest truck out there. And so the first time I went, I brought a white sport chassis, and I'm going up there again. I'm going to bring a sport chassis. He didn't know, but I'm still teasing him with it. And so it was really cool. We got to get that picked up for him. And I brought that truck, and I think he's just a little bit closer to maybe pulling the trigger on a sport chassis. That's kind of the cool thing, is I can kind of, tease some of my customers with these nice big toys and the big RVs and things like that. So we just had a really cool time this morning. He had a hot cup of coffee waiting for me, which I definitely needed after that drive. And then I headed up here to the Sport Chassis booth, which you can find me right now. So if you're up in the Oklahoma City area, swing on by the fairgrounds. I'm over there kind of towards the cafe and the trade show area. You can come by and see me. I'll be here for a couple more hours. And then, like I said, I'll be headed back to Mounds, Oklahoma, back for that big bull riding event. We're really looking forward to that.
It's Camping with Wade's RV on KRMG. Skyler Cooper and Willy D, love to have your questions. Now, when we talk about that sport chassis, you've mentioned last week, your first week out at this show, how it is still like you don't need a CDL to drive it, and it's still just so accessible for everybody. Explain how that's so much more helpful versus like a F350 or something, because I mean that truck could pull most of what a sport chassis could, but that's not really why you're buying one, right?
Oh, no, absolutely not. So, yeah, you can pull a lot of weight with those trucks. And, yeah, they have some cool big screens like in those Dodges. I don't know why, it's got a big screen, but what are you going to do with all that space? But the reason you're buying a sport chassis is because of how it's going to help you tow that load, how you're going to feel after you get done driving it, and then the work you're going to be able to do while you're driving that truck. A normal truck, if you're driving that F350, that F450, it can pull you and get, we can all bear down and grit and be cowboys and be tough, but you're going to be worn out after you pull a Riverstone for 8 to 10 hours. And today I'm pulling it for about 5 hours. And if I had one of those normal trucks, let me tell you, I'd be beat down. There's no way I could go out to that event in Mounds because I'm going to be just doggone tired. By the time I get done working the show and pulling this rig for 5 hours, I'm going to be just plumb beat up. And so whenever you have one of these bigger trucks, it's actually going to be able to handle that weight where you're not white knuckling it. You're not having to, one thing I find whenever I'm driving an F350 or an F450 is I'm really having to keep that thing on the road. The truck isn't doing the work for me. I'm having to make it do it. Whenever you're in a sport chassis, it's got enough weight and it's got enough power to pull you through and actually stop you where you're steering the truck and you're driving the truck. You're not having to work with the truck to stay on the road. That's the last thing you want to do is be battling the weight as you're pulling it down. And so the way that actually handles it, it's going to do an incredible job for you. And then a lot of folks think, man, this sport chassis, it's just big, it's showing off, and it just takes this big old footprint. That's not the case at all. If you actually do a side-by-side comparison of dimensions, heights, and widths and all that, you're going to be very surprised that it's not that much bigger than a 1-ton. I think it's 8 inches longer, and so it is not that big of a difference whenever you're talking about moving around and towability and parking, things like that. It very much has its presence, but it's not going to be a bigger footprint than what you're used to if you're driving one of those trucks. The big difference is you're going to have the visibility. I was doing a test drive with one of my neighbors out in Beggs, Josh Newton, and the first thing he said was, man, I can actually see out of this thing. And that's exactly right. Whenever you're sitting on that bigger profile, your load is going to be sitting about level, but you're going to be able to have so much more of a view all the way around you. And they actually even put cameras on the side of them too. So if you click a turn signal and stuff, you'll be able to see all the way around you. And it just makes a incredible difference.
I noticed the same thing when I got to drive one. It is very easy to see and a lot easier to drive than I expected too. So go take that test drive and see it for yourself. Camping with Wade's RV on KRMG. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It's Camping with Wade's RV. You're listening to KRMG and Ask the Experts Weekend. You'll find Camping with Wade's RV here every Saturday from noon until 1. The future of real estate with Daryl Baskin coming up, KRMG Home Pros in an hour. Stick with us. And remember, you can find the show on a podcast anytime, anywhere. So if you're not in the Tulsa Metro all the time on a Saturday and you want to listen, you can find that podcast up there. Anytime, anywhere on the KRMG app or krmg.com. Willy D live again this week in Oklahoma City, hanging out the Sportchassis booth at the show down there. Remind us the nature of the show that you're at.
So the show that I'm at right now, it's the American Quarter Horse Association World Show. And whenever they say World Show, they quite literally mean World Show. There's people from all over the world here. And so it's really cool that you can kind of get around everyone that I take care of horses every single day. It happens to be a large part of my life because it does take a large part of my day every single day. And so it's really cool to hang around these people that do the same thing that you do and that are in the same hobby that you are, all gathered around in one place together around the same common goal and cause. And so over the next, it's probably about 20 more days is what they have. But over the next period of time, they do lots of different showing, whether that be reining, cutting, doing different just everything that has to do with American quarter horses. You can do English, different things like that. That is at that show. So different days have different events, but it's a really, really neat show. There's lots of equipment. This trade show has gotten me in a lot of trouble because I keep finding stuff that I convince myself I need. And so there's a lot of cool stuff at this trade show. There's a lot of great trucks out here. Like I said, I have about 5 trucks out here. And then we also have our great sport chassis booth. So you can come out here, check that out. If you're needing anything in the Western or equine world, they will have it here. So really cool. And shout out to the guys over there at the Frank's Shoe Shine booth. They do an incredible job. That's probably the best shoe shine I've ever had. I got that last week. And whenever we get done with this show, I'm going back over there. I got to make sure I get my boots all touched up. So really great show, really great time, and really great atmosphere. So come on out and see us. Or like we've been talking about, if you're a veteran and you have not had lunch yet, you have got to go out to Wade's RV. We are wanting to serve you and give back because you guys served our country and you gave so much to us. This is just a small way that we can show a token of our appreciation back to you. So come on out here and see us at Wade's RV. We'll be open until 5, and then at 7 p.m., Willy D will be live at the Crossbar Arena out there in Mounds. If you're looking for some great rodeo action, we're going to be out there. There's going to be some bucking bulls and some sport chassis and a good time. At the end of the day, that's what we're going to be there doing, is having a great time. And it's a really great facility. That's actually, here's a little Willy D fun fact. Last time I was on a wild bucking bronco, I actually broke my arm in the Crossbar Arena a couple weeks ago. So I definitely have some memories there. I want to say they're good memories, but really top-notch facility, and it's going to be a top-notch event this weekend. So come on out and see us and take advantage of all these specials we have going on.
And along with your specials, I know people are probably considering the fact that it's going to be getting colder pretty soon. We've really been lucky so far in November to have nice weather. But if it does get colder and you're thinking about winterizing your RV, whether it's going to be for continued use or to park it, which I wouldn't recommend. I mean, even in the winter, camping is great because you got the heaters in there and you just want to get out and do some stuff. There's something about winter, Willy D, that when I'm out camping and the times I've done it, it seems different. Like things are still, it's quiet. It has a different feel to it, but I'm not a big fan of the cold. So you want to make sure you're in your RV where you can stay warm.
Yes, definitely make sure you're inside your RV where you can stay warm, or you can be outside by that nice campfire. I hate to say, but during the summer, I go out and camp, but I don't camp that much. I don't like sitting out when I'm sitting out hot and sweaty and can't start a fire and can't grill. So I would say I'm more of a fall and winter camper 100% of the time. I'll go out to the lakes and, kind of use the camper as somewhere to stay when I'm on the lake. But aside from that, with hiking and stuff, who likes getting bit up by ticks and hiking around during that time? So I am definitely more of a winter camper myself. And if you do need to get that camper winterized, you can still use it like what we were talking about. The camp facilities, they will be open. So if you need a shower, you need to wash your hands, you can do that as well. And don't be worried. It's not like it was 20 years ago. They are very clean and they're up to date in many, many of these locations. And in many circumstances, they're actually brand spanking new. We talked about that a couple weeks ago, how they're actually going in and building totally new facilities. And so those are second to none. And you got to go check those out. Don't let the cold keep you inside. You've been inside for so long. Get out and enjoy it. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but whenever you're out camping, face masks are not required. You do not have to wear a face mask in the woods, and you can enjoy some nice, fresh air away from the coronavirus.
And if you if you need some help with that winterization process, don't mess with it. Just take it down to Wade's RV. You guys are actually running a special on them, and it sort of depends on what model they have.
It definitely depends on what model, what refrigerator, some of those small key factors. But for the most part, it's right around $100. Right now, we're running a winterization special just for our basic winterization. It starts at $98.50. So you can still go get a Coke after you get winterized. So yeah, it makes it really, really handy. And so you can take advantage of that. Come out and see us. And speaking of specials, like we were talking about earlier, there is a Veterans Day special. So if you're a veteran, come out and get a hot plate of food. That's the way we want to get back to you. But if you're in the market for an RV, we're offering $500 off or a free hitch to all of our veterans all throughout today. And so that'll be a really great thing. And as you said, I'm in OKC right now, but Wade's RV, if you didn't know, is going to be in Oklahoma City all the time. We are building a brand new state-of-the-art facility up there in Oklahoma City that I'm super excited about. And it's just going to help us serve our customers so much better. They're not going to have to travel 2 hours to come get service. They can travel 10 minutes down the road and come to Wade's RV, and they will be able to experience the same service that they've seen here at both of our locations located here in Glenpool, Oklahoma for years and years and years. They'll be able to experience that up in the city. And I'm really excited about it because, like I said, I have tons of customers all around that area, and I can't wait to meet more of those customers. So come on by and see us, and you're definitely going to have to check out that new location. Going to be opening up in just a couple months.
It's Camping with Wade's RV out of time for today. Make sure you go down and see those guys. And it is 1 o'clock just about. So Willy D, another hour or so for veterans to come on down and get a free lunch. Give them a call too, 918-291-1011. We'll talk to you next week, Willy D.
I'll see you then, Skyler. Like I said, this food is really good. It's better than even my mama cooks. So come on out, see Matt Goulet on that grill, and you're going to be satisfied.